is the last lesson, or the last session for lesson 3, session 4. We're going to go back to making sure we understand how to find volume using formulas. So again, just a quick review. Here's our two formulas for how to find it. We mostly have been using this first one, but the second one, using the base, is also helpful. But remember that base is just the length times the width. That part, they're the same thing, and that's why you get the same answer for both. And yesterday we realized that you could split apart a rectangular prism into different parts, and you can get the volume as long as you add them or get that total volume, the final answer for that. So far, so good. We're about to wrap it up with volume. This is the last lesson for volume before we have our quiz. All right, so start with your notes on page 49. Pause here. All right, so we have an example up front. It's solved for us, but I just wanted to point out what they're trying to teach you here. Cohen's making a clay vase or vase, which way you want to say it. So it gives the total volume of it as 45 cubic inches. The thing with this question is it gives us the total volume, or the volume first, and then it only gives us two of the measurements. And then we have to figure out that mystery measurement, so to speak. This may look a little difficult, but it's pretty simple, where you just work out the problem. So we have 45 equals 3 times 3 is 9 times h. And you're going to learn algebra where letters are going to represent numbers. So this is a good preview of how to do that. So how to solve this for the height is just go simply as this. 9 times what? 9 times what number gives you 45? And right away, you're probably like, well, 9 times 5. So our height is actually going to be 5 inches. And you just done some beginning algebra. Pretty simple. So over here, it shows you how to divide and do all that, but I just want to set you guys up with a simple explanation and not get division involved just yet. Okay, next page, or actually the bottom of this first page. We're not going to do all the examples. I'm just picked a select few. The diagram shows a cement walkway, and the sides meet at right angles. And what's the total volume of cement needed to make the walkway? So this total volume statement, that will let you know that you have to split this rectangular prism into two different parts. So let's do that. I'm going to draw a line right here, and I'm going to make my left side red. That means my right side will be in blue, just to kind of show how the difference between those two. Okay, so these are tricky and challenging, but I know you guys can do it. So here's what we know. We know 10, 2. So our volume for the left-hand side is 10 times 2 times this, which we don't know. But we do know it if we look at the other side of the shape here. If you look right here, and I'll circle it in red, notice that this is all 1 foot tall, or height of 1. We have that. 10 times 2 is 20, times 1, and then equals 20. All right, so that's the left-hand side. Let's see what we know for the right. We know this measurement is 2. We know this is 1, so we know at least 2 times 1. Now, here's where it gets tricky sometimes. This 8, this whole side here is 8 that I just highlighted in blue. So, but we can't use that, since all this part right here has already been used by the left-hand side, this 2 foot. We got to split up that 8 into a 2 and a 6. And then we use that 6 right there. And then we have 2 times 1 times 6, which is 12. And we know that this is 32 cubic feet total. Again, rewind or pause if you have questions. I use different colors here to help that out. All right, turn your page 50. 50. All right, this one's pretty straightforward, but it's a lot like that beginning example when we first started out the lesson. The rectangular prism shown below has a volume of 42 cubic meters. So we know the volume is 42 in this figure here. So volume is 42. We know that volume is length times width times height. Well, it looks like it gives us 42 equals 2 and 3. 2 times 3, but we have a mystery number here. We don't know what this is. Let's figure it out. 42 equals 6 times the mystery number. So 6 times what gives us 42? You know your multiplication facts, as you should by now. You know 6 times 7. So we know that final answer, this, must be 7 to get a total volume of 42. Next one. All right. A cube is a rectangular prism whose side lengths are all the same. So that's something that's very important to remember. So we're talking about a cube, which we know is, try to draw a cube here. Every side on a cube is the same. So it says the volume of a cube with a side length of 2 feet. So if we know one side of a cube is 2, we know every other side is also going to be 2. So we basically have volume is length times width times height. It's going to be 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And look at that. Letter C is our answer. I like how this question does this part. So this kid chose B as the correct answer. And it asks, how did he get that answer? Well, if the answer, he thought it was 6, he obviously added up the 2 plus 2 plus 2 to do that. So that's why he got the wrong answer. Keep at it, Danny. All right, let's do a couple more. All right, this is the top of page 51. Rectangular prism has a square base with side lengths of 5 centimeters and a height of 7 centimeters. What's the volume of the prism? Let's try this. Let's try this formula. The volume equals base times the height. And I'm going to draw you a picture of the base of this figure. So it's a square base. And each of those lengths is 5. So, but it's going to be about 7 inches tall. Do it like that. And it's height of 7. So you can do, of course, volume equals length times width times height, which is going to be 5 times 5 times 7. Or we've got our base here, and that could be 25 times 7, and you're still going to get the same answer. Over here, let me work out 25 times 7. Again, use a calculator or use a piece of scrap paper to figure these out. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 2 is 14. 17. Lo and behold, it's 175. There we go. There's our answer for that one. All right, let's skip to the next page. I'm going to find out that we don't have time to do all of these, although keep these videos a little short too. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to skip this one. I don't like this one because this is one of those multiple choice ones with 2 answers. I don't like this one because it tries to trick you with this fact that these identical rectangular prisms. So skip that one, turn the page. This question is mind-blowing, so let's stop that one. But let's continue with number 8. We will do number 8 together. Okay, so we're designing a small pond for a restaurant. How lovely. The diagram shows the measurements of the pond. How many cubic feet or water are needed to fill the pond? Show your work. Okay, so I'm looking at this. I'm just going to draw these lines here to represent the left-hand side. Again, colored pencils are your friend for doing these types of problems by using two different colors. Red will be left, and I'll highlight this other side in blue to be the right-hand side. I'll just make things easier for me and for you to see. Okay, let's tackle that left one first though. Here's what we know. We know this is 12. We know this is 4. So we know we got 12 times 4, but we don't know this right here unless we look all the way over here and notice that this whole thing is 6 feet wide. So that will actually be that one. Imagine that. 12 times 4 times 6, and that will equal 288. The right-hand side is going to use a 6 and a 2, so we know that right away. We don't know what this is right here, unless we notice that we've got this 12 right here, and this whole length here is 18. That lets us know that 12 of that 18 is this, so that means this is also 6. Okay, so this one, 6 times 2 times 6, and that will equal 72. And we want a total volume of this pond. Let's call it a lake. There's a big difference between those two. 8 plus 2 is 10. 8 plus 7 is 15. Plus 1 is 16. 2 plus 1 is 3. Look at that. We have 360 cubic feet. Nicely done. And yep, let's skip this one too. Last discussion, but we don't have time. So, yep. Your homework. Moment you've been waiting for. You will have a math quiz on Thursday, October 8th. We'll review. It's going to be all the different ways to find volume that we've used between cubes, between total volume, and using formulas. Your homework is going to be IXL. You'll see a little star next to it. It's going to be section DD. So make sure you're in grade 5 when you go into IXL. Go to section DD, lesson 15. It's called Volume of Cubes and Rectangular Prisms. Again, there'll be a little star to the left of it. Highlight it for you. You can go to 70%. I have nothing against you using a calculator to check your work. And you can, again, go to 80 or 100 for extra points for Classcraft. That will be entirely optional, but 70% gets you credit for the lesson.